Welcome to the TotalAcre podcast. I'm your host, C.R. Siebold. This podcast is all about helping growers unlock their potential. We aim to bring listeners agronomic insights, valuable educational interviews, real-world strategies that optimize yield and maximize ROI. This show is going to explore innovative practices, creative strategies, and breakthrough products with people that are shaping the industry, all through engaging and inspiring stories. Who better to learn from than the legendary world champion David Hula, Randy Dowdy, and Alex Harrell? Because in farming and in life, iron always sharpens iron. And the best way to grow or get better is to continually be learning, networking with peers, have access to industry leaders, and the tools, tips, and tricks, and overall quality of information. Knowledge is power. Tune in, hit play. Let's unlock your farm's potential together. Chad Siebold with TotalAcre podcast, live here at Commodity Classic 2025. I said 2015 last time. 2025. Hey, excited to be here in Denver, Colorado. I was going to say sunny, but 2 days ago it was sunny. Yeah. Now, not so much. Blizzards here are coming, right, Goat?
Apparently.
Got Cody Goins with ROI Biological. Nobody knows this guy here. Mr. Dowdy, thanks for coming in. And then at the end here, Bryce America does a lot of the trial work and some of the data science within TotalAcre. So excited to have you here. We're going to chat a little bit about some products. We want to know what's coming. We want to know some secrets, but then we're going to look at some results too. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Man, thanks for joining today.
Sure. Thank you.
So, Code, I know you're out of the great state of Illinois. They don't have a football team like they do in Georgia, but
right.
They do a pretty good job of making some products. ROI Biologicals, you guys started out, 2017?
2017.
I think You've been working with us since
2019.
I think we met in 2020 or somewhere thereabouts, but you've been working with TotalAcre for almost that entire time. And the evolution of products and how you build products is kind of what producers need.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you, he's one of the interesting guys in the industry that's kind of a chemist behind the scenes working these things together. You do some pretty crazy stuff. So when you look at building products, tell me a little bit why it's important to listen to needs and looking at that marketplace.
Oh, yeah. Well, as far as product development goes, there's two different conversations, but as far as the biological side goes, we've always tried to figure out, what's the soil need. We check how the biology in the soil. We got a lot of bacteria. We don't have very much fungi. Okay, well, that's what we need to build up because they're basically at deficient levels. So we need to make products that build those populations of those fungi up, or whatever the case may be. And so we've always tried to verify, okay, this combination of ingredients is actually really growing that target organism. And where I should see that at, I should be able to measure that. Not only can I measure the biology, I should see that in the plant tissue sample and in the nutrient levels.
Well, and having guys like to your right here to push you along the way, Dowdy, I know you've been hard on this kid, and it's really helped kind of evolve products over time. So just talk about your guys' relationship and kind of how you've helped kind of build or push the envelope there.
Well, I remember, I don't know if it was 19 or 20. It was a long time ago. You get my age, memory's not as good on certain things, right?
Yes, sir.
But I was asked to go and speak for Cody, and I remember that meeting. Was it in a hotel or something?
Yeah, it was at a minor league baseball stadium at a conference.
That's right. It was a different setting than I was used to speaking at. And we hit it off. We had a lot of great conversation to and from the airport. And at the time, biology at that point was really, we understood biology and the role it played and how nutrients get into the plant, but we just didn't understand biology. And the buzzword for the last couple of years for sure is biology. And I challenged Cody up front. I said, I want to put it on some acres. We want to see what advantages you have. I played around with a few products, but I want to see what you have to offer. It wasn't long. When I saw what I saw, I called David. And I said, David, I know a few products that you're using. I said, have you considered a company called ROI? Well, at the time, it was not ROI Biologicals, was it?
Not yet.
What was it then?
In 17, it was ROI Ag.
ROI Ag.
In 2018, it was ROI Biologicals.
And I said, have you tried this? Do you know a guy named Cody Goins? And David says, no, I've not heard of it. Tell me more. And we started talking. I said, I'm seeing some big things on the farm, David. You might want to try it. Next thing you know, guess what David uses? So now you got two world record holders that have had some success in corn and beans, and I mean,
I got lucky because they both broke their records that first year that they started using our products.
Better be lucky than good, right?
I'd much rather be lucky.
But that's a testament to having good products out of the gate. But I'm going to tell you right now, you might have been handshakes and high fives, but you pushed them along the way. And there was probably some of those, hey, we need this kind of conversations.
Oh, sure. And I mean, we've helped him, tell him needs of the market. I mean, our growers all the time are looking for products that'll take them to the next level, no pun intended, but that are easy to use. We talk about a lot of tissue sample values and deficiencies, and one of the things that we found with his products is that, if we're putting micronutrients out there, whether we're using his micronutrients or competitors' micronutrients, anytime we throw in Network or some of his other products that he has, BioAmp or Network or any of those things, any biological, I don't know of any biological company that can have the same response that we're having with tissue sample values when we apply it in conjunction with a micronutrient packet. And that's a big deal. It's not just that the biology is working well on the leaf surface and it's stimulated in the soil, but it's also helping the micronutrients get into the plant faster. And that's a big deal, Cody. And, you've put together some products that have worked well for the grower, ease of use, and it's just been a great relationship. It's been fun to watch him grow, but the biggest thing is it's been fun to watch his desire to learn and to shape the industry.
It's everything, right? We talk about
Yes.
that within TotalAcre, continuous learning. And I think, Code, as you're going to be working with the guy at the end of the stage here today with Bryce America, I think it's just pushing that envelope. But yeah, using products. Dowdy, you alluded to a couple of the products. I know that we're going to talk a little bit about Network and then Relay. Those are two products that we really want to talk more. We've got a lot of data that we've had for the last almost 5-6 years within our software. But as TotalAcre utilize YMS to be able to, I'm going to call it discover or unlock potential, right? We used to be more about growing champions, and that's certainly what you've helped certain folks maybe not on this stage and not on this stage today, right, accomplish. But we're looking at how we unlock potential. And Bryce, I'm going to bring you into the conversation with Cody here as you talk about results. What were some of the products over the last few years that you've kind of looked at, and what do you like?
Yeah, so just speaking on last year's results, I wrote some notes down here. The top two products that we had seen good success with TotalAcre growers on was In the Fight. That was 100% win rate across 4 replications. So that was an overall trial average. That's factoring in positive and negative yield responses. Obviously, all were positive with 100% win rate, but the trial average there was a 3 bushel uptick versus the
In the Fight.
Yep, In the Fight. So, and then some of the growers in the trials presentation saw this example, but Gick Farms saw a really great uptick in zinc, manganese, copper, and iron. So of those nutrients, saw really good results on increasing those nutrients.
That's a new product of ours. We're 3 years into it. The first year was very, very minimal, just get some trials out there. It was good enough that the second year we're like, we need to get a lot more out there. And by last year we were like, this is part of the recommendation.
But Cody, you're always pushing new products and trying to stay on the cutting edge. The go-to products that I recommend every day, every year with all of our growers across the country. Tell us about Network. Tell us how it's evolved. I remember the days when I broke the record with a product called Exalt.
Yeah.
Tell us how it's changed and tell us some of the benefits you think versus the industry.
Yeah, so we've made a lot of changes. The very first thing we did was humic and aminos and kelp and a little bit of zinc and molybdenum, essentially. And one of the reasons I developed that product was when we started working with you guys, I had a suspicion that as high as your fertility levels were, that there was some maybe salt stress kind of stuff going on, even if you didn't physically see it. So I was like, let me put some ingredients together that all of them should really help with that kind of stress. Plus, I knew that those ingredients are really good at feeding the fungi in the soil. But since then, we started working with David, making Relay for him, and that's when we got introduced to the plant growth promoter that we used. Started adding that into Relay and then started adding it into Network. And that made a big improvement in how well that product performed and a lot of stress mitigation benefits. Then we started, I think we've increased the molybdenum levels in the product over the years. We've switched from a potassium extracted to a water extracted humic acid because it's more biologically active. There's a lot more actual biology in the parent material that doesn't get destroyed with potassium hydroxide. So every year we just see, is there anything we can do, add this or change something to get a better result feeding the biology and get nutrients in the plant. Just can we make it 5% better every year? You're not going to make something twice as effective, like most likely, but can we just keep incrementally trying to push the envelope and move that needle up a little bit every year?
What's Mr. David talk about all the time? You can't change what you can't measure, right? What you just talked about right there is the key. When you look at opportunities to be able to kind of maneuver a product, I'm going to talk about the name here in a minute too, because there's a lot of confusion in the world of biologicals. Not all the products you have are biologicals, but certainly.
Well, that's a great point. So we ask growers, this is always fun. We even ask our dealers this, and it's hilarious the answers you get. So what's your definition of a biological? You get a sugar a biological or PGRs.
Sure.
And so just to be really clear, I'm not saying I'm right, our definition of biological, there's 3 categories: prebiotics, probiotics, and plant growth promoters. Prebiotics are just food sources for native microbes. Probiotics are actually living microbes. Yep. PGPs, plant growth promoters, or plant growth regulators. They technically, in my opinion, all fit in the biological camp. It's just, let's break them into these categories so we can be clear what are we talking about.
Cody, what you just said there is kind of why I asked the questions. There's a lot of confusion in the marketplace.
Yeah.
So access to information, and that's kind of what TotalAcre is all about. Utilizing, our technology, our software, our tools, but partnering with the right people and vendors that can actually have the intelligence to be able to share that information and not afraid to be able to do that. So thank you for that. So maybe I want to bring Bryce in, and Dowdy, maybe you can help him out here. But when we look at partners and we look at opportunities to bring folks in, I know a lot of people coming at you, Dowdy, like, hey, let's vet these products. But when we look at vendors like Cody, they have to hit a certain criteria to be in that program. We want to make sure that we're testing products that are going to make impacts on our farms.
Well, I was asked yesterday in our session, TotalAcre session here at Commodity, what are your thoughts on biologicals and do's and don'ts? They want to kind of, it's the catchphrase. Everybody is hearing about it. A lot of people's in the marketplace now, and there's a lot of noise. A lot of people just don't know what to do. And the first thing that I told them to do, I said, in my opinion, before you just start adding, you got to know what you got.
Sure.
So let's do a soil assay. Let's see what we have. Let's see what we're deficient in. And then let's try to let nature do what it does. Let's stimulate biology by what we understand stimulates biology. And one of the things that I told them in that room, I said, look, I've vetted a lot. There's been a lot of people want to ride the train, ride that world record or whatever.
Sure.
And, hey, did you use our products? No, I didn't make it. Well, what can I do to be on that next year, right?
Yes, sir.
And I told them straight up, ROI Biologicals. And I told Cody, I said, look, no pressure, Hoss. It's working, but it better keep working.
That's right.
And
it's that
I
constant
said,
learning, constant evolution, right? We always talk about
sure, and I tell him all the time. But, ROI Biologicals products for us have been, there's been, with anything in the beginning, I remember there was a little bit of mixing issues and how do we keep everything in suspension. And when Cody decided he was going to farm a little bit, he started seeing a little bit, the difficulties that farmers face.
Yes, sir.
And it has really changed his approach as a business. He's wore that hat. He understands how difficult it is sometimes when you're going to make these passes, how to get all this stuff to tank mix and stay and play pretty with one another. So he's been a listener, but he's also been an information source.
Yeah.
I've
no
been
easy button, right? There's no silver bullet, but it certainly helps to have the right partners and people. Can I bring Bryce in? I know you guys. I'm gonna tell you right now. It was kind of fun before we were on the camera talking on mic. You guys were already talking about the next evolution. I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. You're already talking about what you're gonna do. You're talking about different products that look at manganese, right? You're looking at products that do these. You don't have to tell us all the secret sauce, but this is why it's fun to have that interaction. And so, Bryce, when you look working with a vendor, you're looking at protocols, and you don't have to say the protocols, but knowing that there is a systematic approach to what we do with products, we know why they work, where they work, and then we benchmark that across all the data across over a period of time. Since 2017, that was the vision, right, Dowdy? Yep. And now we know why they work, where they work best. So maybe talk about the protocol a little bit with Code.
Yeah. So kind of to piggyback off of Dowdy right there, in product companies, we're trying to find solution-based approaches. We have particular issues that we need particular solutions for. So that's kind of what we're after on the protocol side. trial implementation can be difficult. So it all starts with the grower. Finding good growers is the key for any of this to work. So, just proper layout on the trial comes first, but then we need measurables as well. We want those visuals, as in root digs and plant height measurements, but we also need tissue samples. We need bricks analysis. We need NDVI imagery. So all that is factored into the protocol, and that's really how we figure out what works and what doesn't. The final check, is yield. Did it make me money? Did it give me an uptick in yield? But what about those other measurables? We want to track those as well.
So Cody, when we see a result, I think there should be some confidence behind what a producer sees when they say, hey, it's work. I see some of the stuff as I look at some of the displays that are just right next to us. But it's one thing to have a face and a voice, but when the real producer says it worked,
oh yeah,
and the producers that are working on the side of TotalAcre for agnostic approach of how and where products work, it's got to be kind of exciting.
It is good. I mean, and we like all those measurements because, I'm not going to go into a bunch of detail, but when somebody tells me they got a yield increase, we say, well, how'd you get that?
Yep.
And some farmers don't care, right? Who cares? I got 10
a lot of
bushels,
farmers just want to be told what to do.
Yeah, I just want the yield increase. But if I'm going to make recommendations to people, I need to know how exactly you got that increase.
Where did the yield come from?
Then I know maybe the next guy down the road, does he even have the same problem you had? Is this a rec he should get as well? Or was this just unique to this farm,
So I'm going to put you on the spot because I know you and Dowdy were thumb wrestling on this over earlier when we were talking about network, right? Dowdy, you were talking about different rates that you liked, and you were talking about rates you like, and you kind of going head to head. That's what makes it unique too, right? Because farm in Georgia or Michigan is different than Illinois or Iowa.
Yeah.
And when you look at that, having that feedback, so who's right, Dowdy, on some of these application rates?
You really gonna ask me that? I'm bold in fact. I'm gonna plagiarize somebody. I'm bold in my facts and humble in my opinions.
Yes, sir.
And if I go on a limb and tell somebody this is what we do, that's what we do.
Yeah.
And there's a reason behind it. Now, obviously, I try to kill stuff. I want to push things as far as I can push them
Sure.
to the point that I can learn. And if I'm not killing something, I'm not pushing hard enough. And so you got to find that fine line. Cody's out will sell some products and not kill a bunch of stuff, so it puts him out of business either. So,
hey, this is the truthing mechanism, right? That's what we love. I think it's fun to be able to talk about that, right? Because if you look at, I'm gonna dig a little deeper into the science, if you will, because I know this is his game. I'm gonna step out of the game and let you and Bryce and Dowdy talk a little bit about it. But when you look at network and relay, where do you like network applied and when?
So network, we do a lot of in-furrow on soybeans and corn both. Relays primarily in-furrow on corn and cotton. Not that there's a lot of cotton in TotalAcre, but in-furrow on corn and cotton. And then we do a lot. This is the one thing me and Dowdy may not agree on. We do network at a quart with post-herbicide. We don't ever want to exceed a quart. And if you need, say you're putting glyphosate in the tank, still you should be using AMS, right? If you went and put 2 quarts or a gallon of network on, you could have herbicide issues.
Sure.
We haven't seen it at 1 quart, and it mitigates the herbicide stress, and that's part of our program. Beyond that, almost any time we take a tissue sample and we need to foliar feed micronutrients, we're pretty much doing 2 quarts with those applications. Now, to Randy's point, the more you use, the more of a response you see. It just, what's your budget and what's your realistic yield goals? We only got so much to work with.
That's right.
So we want to maximize ROI, right? Sure. Once we start getting to that point of diminishing returns, be okay on a high yield plot, but on a production acre where you got to make money, we got to find that sweet spot, not go above and beyond to be swapping dollars.
Dowdy, you always talk about it. Like, what is the limitation on a fertility budget? $150. Like, what is the ROI? You talk about taking everything back to yield. So you heard the 2 products we've been talking about. I'll bring you back in a minute, Bryce. But the 2 products you're talking about when you're talking about ROI and consistent results, without fully endorsing what you've seen, just in general, these are the kind of products we like to work with. And the people that we like to work with, because we know code is going to continue to evolve that product over time.
well, I know the background of where Relay came from. And I mean, we've helped him with that. So has David. A lot of that information has come from David, and David helps promote it, and Cody's just made it better. And that's just the way things have worked. That product works great in corn. It's been proven all over this country. So Relay at a gallon in the furrow, man, I don't know why any grower would be choosing it. They need to at least try it, compare it to what their standard program is. Let it prove. I mean, anytime the farmer understands what he or she knows pays, it's not on the chopping block when budgets get thin. And the markets right now, with all the uncertainty in the world of tariffs and everything else, you need some things that are certain. One of the things that we can honestly say is that, Relay has been very limited risk for us about getting return on investment. And then every time we go across the field, we're big into putting out humic and fulvics. I mean, we're using some of their dry products to help buffer salt. With some of these 2x2 applications where we've got high salt loads, we're even doing it in our side dress applications. We're trying to buffer that salt. It's just so many, there's so many pieces of where his products fit into our programs. And I can just tell you, I know it sounds like I'm on the payroll, but they work.
Yeah.
That's why I told him, no pressure. Because when they stop,
listen, that's kind of what we're here to talk about.
We're going to have a
access,
conversation.
unlocking potential, accessing information. Unlocking potential, accessing information. I want to talk a little bit about, you said there's a new product, or you said it was a new product, but you were kind of sharing some results. I didn't catch the name of the product. Can you hit it again?
Yeah, so the second one, I don't know if I got to the second product.
No, just the first one. Hit that first one.
Endophyte.
Yeah, so talk about Endophyte. I didn't have it written down here, but
Endophyte's a beneficial fungus, and so it's one of the very few actual living, organisms that we use. So it's all in spore form, but that fungus, it's endophytic, so it grows into the plant up through the stems and leaves, and it's really helped with a lot of heat and drought stress mitigation. But one of the big things we see in corn production, like corn, sorghum, and wheat, is a lot of improvements in grain quality. Less mycotoxin infections, less vomitoxin in wheat, healthier kernels, and heavier kernel weight, which is huge that's a big component of yield.
Yep.
And in soybeans, the biggest thing we've seen that excited us about it is we've got it's really boosted our iron uptake in soybeans, which a lot of people have a problem with that. And where we think iron should be on a soybean tissue sample is a whole lot higher than what most of the average labs would tell you it should be at.
Okay.
And so now you can go foliar feed iron, but it doesn't last long. So unless you want to go foliar feed every week, and if you're dry land and it's hot and dry, you can't do that. You'll go backwards. And so being able to get this fungus to get it in the plant for me and reduce some of those foliars, reliance on foliars, it's been a big deal for us.
Listen, I'm excited to learn more about that product, but we had Harold was up here the other day. We were talking about the limits in soybeans, and I know that some of the products you have in that book over there, we're talking about some of the things we did in soybeans, but network in soybeans, he was talking 350 yields, and I put him on the spot. I said, "You gonna beat the 218?" He says, "If I get the right products, Lord blesses us, right? Let's go." He says he's ready for 25.
Yeah.
So if I circle things up and I say, Dowdy, I'm going to give you, what's the one thing you're excited about in 25, working with folks like Cody? What's the one thing you're looking at? You're excited
Well,
about?
I'm looking at doing a little bit of farming in Michigan this year. It's going to be a little different environment, dealing with a lot shorter season hybrids than what I'm used to on the corn side. And then same thing on the beans. I mean, we're used to planting full season indeterminates. It may be a 4.5 to a 5, and now we're going to go down to a 0.5 to a 1.5. So we got to figure out how to set as many flowers as we can at the bottom of the plant early. We're going to have a much shorter season. We spend a lot more time in Grainfield in Georgia than when we will up north. So I don't think there's going to be much chance for a record. But if I could produce 100 bushel beans consistently up there,
let's go.
Produce 300 bushel corn, and it'll be one of the things that I tap into. I'm going to him and 2 or 3 others, and I'm like, hey, here's the project. How do we best get there? So I'm going to put Randy's spin on it, but I'm going to try to tap into their knowledge as well.
Yeah, man. So that tells me if you're up Michigan, it's now go big blue, not Bulldogs, right?
Don't get crazy.
Speaking of...
they got to have somebody they play throughout the year, right?
That's right. That's right.
Have a conference.
Big Ten, SEC. Let's go.
Yep.
Give me the thing you're excited about. I know you're working with Cody here this year on some of the trial work, and I know you're kind of behind the scenes still kind of firming things up, but obviously working with a guy like Cody's going to challenge you. You ready for it?
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to incorporating some new methods to proof out performance as well. We've got some new technology. I don't know if I can talk about it with crop diagnostics, but I think it could help us learn more on the biologic front, just exactly how these products are performing and why we're getting the results that we're getting. So that's what I'm looking most forward to, is the new method to proof out the results.
Yeah, man. Code, you got the same question I gave Dowdy. What's the one thing you're excited about? Bring us home.
25?
25. What's the one thing you're excited? It can be about ROI. It can be about just the industry. What are you excited about?
I'd say the most exciting thing to me is just, we've got a lot of good feedback from 24. We had a lot of good success. Our customers had a lot of good success. And I'm just excited to keep that going and keep expanding that success. I mean, that's when the growers call us and say, hey, I had the best APH ever, I won my contest or whatever. We get a lot of those, and that's what really gets me excited.
I'll tell you one thing, and I'll pump your tires up here a little bit. This guy's hard to get a hold of. It's because customer service, I think the way you work with producers is unique.
Yeah.
I love it, and I know you got a pretty good team behind you, so
yeah.
Good luck in 25. Thanks for spending some time with us. Dowdy, thanks for making it up here. And
Yes, sir.
Bryce, good seeing you as always.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, bud.
Thanks, Cody.
Appreciate
you,
it,
guys.
brother.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Good to see you.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in today to this episode of the TotalAcre podcast. Hey, if you enjoyed it, you like the conversation, be sure to subscribe. You know the drill. Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Go give us a click, give us a like. Until next time, though, keep pushing forward. We hope that you found something unique, something powerful here that might help you unlock your farm's potential. We look forward to seeing you next week. Be safe. Talk more here soon on the next TotalAcre podcast.